There's a strange thing about morality. The more people talk about it, the less of it you actually see. The louder a society claims to be righteous, the more quietly it hides its guilt. And somewhere along the line, what began as a compass for the soul became a leash for the mind. Centuries ago, a man stood before a crowd in a small European town. His hands were tied. The crowd wasn't there for justice. They were there for redemption. Not their own, but the kind that comes from seeing someone else punished. The priest raised his hand and declared that the man was guilty of heresy, guilty of thinking differently. As the flames rose, the people watched in silence, their fear mixing with relief, because as long as he burned, they were safe. As long as someone else was the sinner, they didn't have to face the weight of their own doubt. That moment, repeated in different ways across every civilization, was never just about one man or one belief. It was about control, about how guilt became the invisible thread that keeps societies in order. And rulers, priests, kings, they all learned one thing early. If you can make people feel guilty for what they naturally are, you can make them obedient for life. You see, morality wasn't always a weapon. In ancient tribes, it was something sacred, a shared instinct to protect the group, to ensure survival. It wasn't written in books or decreed by gods. It was felt, lived, passed down through stories around the fire. But as societies grew, power needed structure, and nothing structures power better than a moral code that only a few can interpret. When religion took the stage, morality was rewritten, no longer as what helps the tribe survive, but as what pleases the higher authority. Heaven became the ultimate reward, hell the ultimate punishment. And suddenly, guilt wasn't just an emotion, it was a system. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche saw it clearly. He said that guilt was society's way of taming the strong, that moral codes, especially those built on sin and purity, were designed to turn vitality into obedience, to make you feel that your desires, your anger, your individuality were dangerous, so you'd police yourself before anyone else had to. But let's make this less abstract. Imagine you're a child. You break a glass. No one's hurt, but you're told it's bad. Not just wrong, but bad. You feel guilt, that sharp drop in the stomach. That moment teaches you something deeper than be careful. It teaches you to fear your own impulses, to associate mistake with sin. And when that lesson repeats through school, religion, work, society, it shapes your entire moral muscle. You don't just want to do good. You want to avoid being seen as bad. That difference is where control begins. A few decades ago, psychologist Stanley Milgram ran an experiment at Yale. Volunteers were told to administer electric shocks to another person for wrong answers. They believed the shocks were real, though they weren't. Most of them went on to deliver lethal-level shocks, simply because an authority figure in a lab coat told them to continue. They weren't monsters. They were moral citizens, believing they were doing their duty. What Milgram revealed wasn't about cruelty. It was about obedience wrapped in the clothing of righteousness. People didn't hurt because they wanted to. They hurt because they thought they should, because someone made them believe morality was measured by compliance. And that pattern never ended. It just evolved. Look at our world today. The uniforms are gone, but the guilt remains. Instead of priests and kings, we have social algorithms and public judgment. Instead of confession booths, we have comment sections. Every post, every word, every silence, judged, weighed, declared good or bad. You don't need a god to fear punishment anymore. You just need the internet. We've turned morality into a performance. We curate it, filter it, hashtag it. We show how good we are, how aware, how righteous. But beneath it, the same ancient mechanism hums quietly. Obedience through shame. You stay in line not because you believe, but because you fear being cast out. And behind every system that benefits from your compliance, politics, religion, corporations, morality is their favorite tool. It's clean, invisible. It makes you discipline yourself. When people are trained to equate guilt with goodness, you no longer need force. You only need belief. Think about an ordinary moment. You're walking down a street, see a homeless man asking for help. You hesitate. You want to help, but something holds you back. Then the guilt hits. You replay that moment later in bed, feeling small. The system doesn't care what choice you made. It only needed you to feel guilt either way. That guilt keeps you consuming more, working more, trying harder to feel like a good person. It's a self-correcting loop that keeps the machine running. That's why morality, in its weaponized form, isn't about right and wrong. It's about direction. It tells you who to obey, what to hate, when to stay silent. It can make kindness look weak and cruelty look noble. It can turn questioning into sin and obedience into virtue. The philosopher Michel Foucault once described power as something that doesn't just repress, it produces. It shapes what we think, what we desire, what we fear. The perfect system of control isn't one that forces obedience. It's one that makes obedience feel moral. And that's what we're living in now. A world where morality has become a mirror maze. Every reflection shows you something to fix, to correct, to purify. You end up trapped, chasing virtue as if it were freedom. But morality, in its pure form, was never meant to bind. It was meant to connect. It was supposed to help us see each other, not police each other. Somewhere along the line, we forgot that. The irony is that the more we've tried to make society moral through control, the less moral it's become, because morality that's imposed can only create guilt, not growth. And guilt that lingers too long becomes resentment. It makes people hide their real selves, conform on the outside, and rot quietly within. You can see it in how people talk online. Outrage isn't born from clarity. It's born from suppressed guilt. We condemn others to cleanse ourselves. We seek purity through judgment because we've been taught that silence is complicity. But when everyone's busy proving their goodness, no one's actually becoming good. The ancient rulers didn't need armies to control the masses. They needed stories. Stories about virtue, sin, purity, redemption. And we're still living inside those stories, just with new actors and new screens. So when you feel guilt rising, that quiet ache that whispers you should have done better, pause for a moment. Not to escape it, not to reject it, but to see it clearly. To ask whose voice it really is, because maybe that guilt isn't your conscience. Maybe it's centuries of conditioning speaking through you. And once you see that, control begins to lose its grip. Morality, when used as a weapon, divides. But morality, when seen as truth, unites. The question isn't what's good or evil. The real question is, who benefits from you believing it? That's the quiet truth rulers have always known. That the easiest way to govern people is to make them police themselves. And maybe the moment we stop fearing our own imperfection is the moment their spell finally breaks.